Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
You got that right, oddly confident lady. Well, look, Patriots, I got to put a little pace on this today because I have been at work all day and I want to get this video out to you. So let's cruise. Watch me whip, watch me nay-nay through these Q posts. 25:23, 3 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. Q takes us back to 2299. That was on September 30th. We were just about to enter Red October. And if you'll remember that when we were talking about getting rid of Rod Rosenstein, or as I call Rod Roe, that was their red line. And we were crossing a red line into October. This was also the time we were talking about Justice Kavanaugh. Now, this was a massive, massive deal to the deep state. Remember, they tried to ruin this guy's life. Why did they do that? Because they knew that once the D class came, the D class couldn't come until after we got a Supreme Court judge up in there. And they knew that, and that's why they were willing to do whatever they needed to do to make sure that that didn't happen, and that failed. So Justice K confirmation happens. Now we got ourselves a Dean class, and although it doesn't look quite the way we want it to look, it is happening. And then of course that leads to the next step, which is goodbye Mr. Rosenstein. All right, goodbye Rod Roe. Payment in full. What does that mean, payment in full? Well, I assume that Rosenstein and Mueller are kind of doing their work right now to pay for whatever they need to reconcile with. They need to reconcile with the president, which means they needed to be put in that bus while they themselves drive the wheels off of it and then come out and lift Trump's hand in victory. Then we get talking about Flake here and his decision, and this was his decision to change his mind after being accosted in the elevator and da-la-la. And that made things quite difficult, but we ended up getting it done. And it really showed Flake's true colors, right? Voting against this. Define treason. Well, you already do it for us. The crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. Define subversion. The act of subverting, the state of being subverted, especially a systematic attempt to overthrow or undermine a government or political system by persons working secretly from within. Think line of questions regarding Senator Graham and Justice Kavanaugh regarding enemy combatants. And you can find that on YouTube. We've showed it a few times on this channel here. Senator Lindsey Graham is asking Justice Kavanaugh about the idea of how we prosecute people that are known as enemy combatants. They could be subject to military justice code, which means they could be put to death. We're talking about the ultimate death penalty, right? And then Q says 1-800-273-8255. Operators standing by. It's a national suicide hotline. We've been getting some suicides, right? We've been getting some related deaths. So what Q is really doing here is setting the stage, letting us know what's really, really going on and the severity of this. Then we get this tweet from the 5th of September. Donald Trump. Treason? Yes, treason. And then we get a couple Lincolnburgs right here. The first one goes to the Intelligencer. 305th Military Police Company deploys to Guantanamo Bay. And this was from back in December 2nd, 2018. More than 100 members of the 305th Military Police Company of Wheeling were deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, Saturday following an official ceremony at Philadelphia Middle School's gymnasium. The 400-day deployment is in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, according to Sergeant First Class Reginald Pickett with the 305th. He said the troops will be performing various military police duties during this period. Several speakers include Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Bennett, commander of the 400th Military Police Battalion, spoke to the troops and their families about the hardships involved with a long deployment. Okay, so I'm not going to go way into this article. I actually reported this back in December. We were talking a little bit about this, but the 400-day deployment is quite a long deployment. Now, I know there's a lot of you saying out there, hey, Sir Patrick, look, this is no big deal. People get sent to, Guantanamo Bay or wherever all the time, and that's very true. But I want to point something out that I thought was unique about this particular deployment. And in my video back in December, you can probably just look up maybe December 2nd or 3rd, that video there, and it'll probably show it. But they were interviewing a couple of these soldiers, a couple young people. And one particular soldier was talking about how this was an incredible, unique national security operation and how proud they were to be part of this sort of special case, And of course, this particular soldier didn't elaborate, but it was interesting words, and the gleam in their eye definitely sensed that something was up. Now, you can take it or leave it as far as what I have to say about that. That's not real news. That's just simply my take on what I saw. But I think that if you go back and see, this was a very special kind of deployment, and of course they were making a big deal to make note of it. If troops deploy all the time, why did all these different newsletters and news articles go ahead and report on this particular one? So the next link takes you here, military.com. When it comes to Guantanamo, Trump is truly the builder-in-chief. This is out of Miami. The Trump administration has more than $200 million in new construction teed up for Guantanamo this year and next, combining new funding in the $1.3 trillion spending bill and existing projects. The biggest ticket item for the U.S. Navy base in Cuba is the so-called omnibus spending law is $115 million for a new 848 troop barracks across the street from the McDonald's and commissary to consolidate enlisted prison staff under one roof. Okay, we talked about this, and I reminded you a couple days ago about this omnibus. This is where we were getting a ton of money, and so much of it was allotted to Guantanamo Bay, and we broke this down. You can look at my video, In Pursuit of Truth Presents. I believe it's just the omnibus bill, and you'll find it. So it goes on to talk about some of the spending here, and I just want to point out a couple. First of all, this group that is building these barracks, and I think it says it right here, is the Miami company that built the bridge that failed out there in Florida earlier this year, if you'll remember. Here it is. A Carlsbad, California construction firm, has been awarded to a $23 million to $27 million contract to do work on the infrastructure of a pop-up tent city site that could, in the event of a migrant crisis, holds up to 30,000 people intercepted at sea, not far from Guantanamo's lone functioning airfield. The U.S. military has spent millions of dollars since 2007 building the site on the leeward side of the base for the Department of Homeland Security because the original infrastructure was taken over by the detention center zone for war on terror prisoners. Construction will continue throughout the year on the base's new $66 million K-12 school being built by the same Miami firm whose pedestrian bridge collapsed March 15th at Florida International University. That was the bridge I was talking about, past a November completion date. At the time of the collapse that killed 6 people, the school for up to 275 students was 35% finished and scheduled for completion in March 2019, said spokeswoman Sue Brink of the Navy Facilities Southeast headquarters in Jacksonville. Hey, maybe those guys are building some of their own cells. Who knows? So really interesting stuff. Building a health clinic. They're building a whole bunch of stuff out here. And let me take you here. It has the Pentagon's top secret eavesdrop-proof war court chamber for former CIA captives, where the public hears proceedings on a 40-second delay. The expansion phase does not provide for a second courtroom sought by the chief judge, just secure office spaces. It is more expensive because this time the Pentagon is hiring outside contractors to pave, put in utilities hookups, build more security fences, and add perimeter lights. Okay, so tons of money being set up for Cuba. Separately, the Pentagon is spending $235,000 on 6 prefab legal meeting rooms inside the detention center zone for lawyers to meet with captives, ostensibly with confidentiality, after a microphone was found in a meeting room especially set up for the alleged USS Cole bomber, a former CIA captive, to meet with his lawyers in 2014. Okay, so anybody who's questioning whether or not we have the money or not, I pointed this out a long time ago. We have got the coin. And we get a third link over here, and this is from McClatchy. Pentagon delivers new guidelines on transferring detainees to Guantanamo. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis has given the White House its new policy guidance on transferring detainees to the U.S. Navy base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, a critical report intended to outline whether the Pentagon backs promises President Donald Trump made on the campaign trail to fill the prison with bad dudes. Yeah, if you remember President Trump, he didn't want to say enemy combatants, so he just said bad dudes. This policy provides our warfighters guidance on nominating detainees for transfer to Guantanamo Bay detention should that person present a continuing significant threat to the security of the United States. Pentagon spokeswoman Commander Sarah Higgins said the report was not made public. Okay, and I want to take you down to this speech right here. I'm going to play a little bit from this, but not from C-SPAN. I'm going to play it from CNN and just hope that I don't get hit with copyright. Check it out.
Terrorists who do things like place bombs in civilian hospitals are evil. When possible, we have no choice but to annihilate them. When necessary, we must be able to detain and question them. But we must be clear, terrorists are not merely criminals. They are unlawful enemy combatants.
And this is the part in the video where they all stand up and clap, like they do in Washington. You understand what's going on, but I'm going to interrupt this video because I'm trying to break up this video so I don't get hit with copyright. All right, now back to the video.
And when captured overseas, they should be treated like the terrorists they are. In the past, we have foolishly released hundreds and hundreds of dangerous terrorists, only to meet them again on the battlefield, including the ISIS leader, al-Baghdadi, who we captured, who we had, who we released.
He's right. Do you know that?
Okay, well, he introduces General Mattis here, and then he talks about keeping Guantanamo Bay open, talks about what a great job he's doing. Everybody stands up and claps for about a minute. President Trump, tell us what your goal is.
To ensure that in the fight against ISIS and al-Qaeda, we continue to have all necessary power to detain terrorists wherever we chase them down, wherever we find them. And in many cases, for them, it will now be Guantanamo Bay.
You don't have to come and confess that you did it. We're looking for you. We gonna find you. I'm letting you know now, so you can run and tell that, homeboy.
Alrighty then, and here's the quote from that right there. They are unlawful enemy combatants. Then Q says, questioning Graham Kavanaugh regarding enemy combatants. Unusual, define treason. Yes, it was highly unusual. And if you don't know what we're talking about here, I would suggest going to, you could just look up here on YouTube, Graham interviews Kavanaugh, and they're talking about enemy combatants. And they makes a point to really talk at great length about this and have Justice Kavanaugh talk about enemy combatants and whether or not their rights, their constitutional rights, are afforded them overseas, particularly when their own nation is after them. Well, if they are defined as enemy combatants and they are committing treason, then it no longer does. And then we talk about this here. EO effective January 1st, 2019. And I believe that would be regarding these amendments here to the manuals for courts martial, United States. This was back in March 1st. Now, we're not going to go through this whole thing because we have talked about this already, but I want to take you down to Section 5C. Nothing in Annex 2 shall be construed to invalidate any non-judicial punishment, proceeding, restraint, investigation, referral of charges, trial in which arraignment occurred, or other action begun prior to January 1st, 2019. Except as otherwise provided in this order, the amendments in Annex 2 shall not apply in any case in which charges are referred to trial by court-martial before January 1st, 2019. Except as otherwise provided in this order, proceedings in any such case shall be held in the same manner and with the same effect as if such amendments had not been prescribed. Okay, so it really talks about a lot of the technicalities in regards to courts martial, and because this was all going to kick in January 1st, and we are really rapidly approaching the new year. So it remains to be seen how this all gets acted out, but I imagine the real juicy stuff is going to happen right at the beginning of the year when this kicks in. But that's what we're talking about. We are talking about treason. DOJ, Office of Legal Counsel opinion regarding detaining, regarding U.S. citizens, regarding enemy combatant. Well, if they're an enemy combatant, then we can go ahead and grab them, is basically what they're saying. Drops combined paint a full picture. We have quite a few enemy combatants out here, don't we? Have a lot of people that are guilty of treason. We have a lot of people that are guilty of sedition, and it looks like those people are starting to drop off the map. And Q, I think, is implying that those drops, particularly the last one we just talked about with George Bush, right? George Bush passing away. We had John McCain passing away. Ruth Darth Bader Ginsburg. Now, she hasn't passed away, but she hurt her ribs and she kind of disappeared, didn't she? How about this Michael Hayden? Had a stroke. Haven't seen from him. How's he doing? Anybody reporting on CNN? Somebody want to let us know what's going on? Exactly. We don't know where these people are. And anybody who very well might be a witness in these military tribunals, they may be legal counsel, they may be, who knows, if they're participating right now, chances are they are on a slow boat to Cuba, or they've been hanging out in Guantanamo already getting this done. It remains to be seen how that's going to turn out. But I would think that at the end of December, when we start talking about election fraud, we're going to have a lot better picture as to who or who may not be on an island near Havana. Do you believe in coincidences? May God bless those who fight to defend our great nation. We the people. Q. Let's move on to the next post. 2524. 16 minutes after the hour of 1. We get this graphic right here. Let me take you over here. It's a little bigger. And we're just going to break this kind of down in sections. Again, this is just sort of supporting the whole narrative that we've been talking about for months. So here in the red, in the top left corner of the week, Rod Rowe is no longer in charge of the Mueller probe. Rod Rowe no longer overseeing Russia probe, blah, blah, blah. Rod Rowe out the door. Who took the place? Acting AG Whitaker to take authority on Mueller probe from Rosenstein. Dude, that Whitaker guy, he's a Buick, isn't he? Then we have more from the Hill. DOJ acting AG to take over oversight of Russia probe. Wall Street Journal, Matthew Whitaker, da-da-da. So, all talking about Whitaker. Now, if we look over here, in the right corner, we see these former Q posts. 2109, 2196, 2210, 2252, 2286, and 2452. Goodbye, Rod Rowe. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Goodbye, Mr. Mueller. Patriots in control. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. So we've known about this for a while, that he was going to get on out the door. It looks like Matthew Whitaker taking place, at least until there is a new AG that would probably take over. I don't want to say permanently, but for at least for that term. And Rod Rowe. So what's going on with Rod Rowe? Where is Rod Rowe? Here's some more headlines. Trump considered Mueller for FBI director before he was named special counsel. Not true. Mueller had already overstayed his welcome as FBI director, but he did meet with President Trump before this special counsel all began. And that's important to remember, because they had something to reconcile, right? Remember, if Mueller's dirty, Rod Rowe's dirty. If Rod Rowe's dirty, Mueller is dirty. Both these guys have had to drive this thing until the wheels fall off. Why? Is it their duty? Is this their debt they're paying? Trump reportedly believes Mueller will write a letter publicly exonerating him soon. Yeah, likely. That's part of the idea. Ken Cuccinelli, Trump is exonerated by Mueller indictments of Russia. Let the facts from Mueller's investigation exonerate or prove wrongdoing by President Trump. Yeah, exactly. President Trump wants this thing to be a straight up win. He doesn't want it to be a decision. He wants it to be a knockout. He wants those guys to come out to the center of the ring, raise his hands in victory, and let everybody know clearly exactly what was up. Now, here's some more Q posts here. Open your eyes. It finally came out that Rod, Bob were key players in the Uranium One scandal. Precisely. Their hands were not clean. They needed to go ahead and do this for President Trump as part of their reconciliation. Don't you think POTUS would be tweeting about removal given clear conflict? Why did POTUS meet Bob under the cover of FBI director interview? Bob is unable to serve as director per the law. Yeah, Obama extended him. He couldn't serve any longer. POTUS has everything. Not everyone is corrupt. Fewer than you think, meaning that some of these people are cooperating. Why did Mueller meet POTUS one day prior to FBI announcement if Mueller could not be offered director due to previous term limits rule? Mueller will face charges regarding Uranium One. He's working to save himself. And that's really the key here. We're not going to go through the rest of these here in great detail here, but this is really summing it up with Mueller. Mueller will face charges regarding Uranium One. He's working to save himself. So whatever he's doing is obviously working for the president. Otherwise, this would have been ended a long time ago. On the right side here, 1122, trust Sessions, trust Huber. And Q just said the other day that those people are going to pay the price. The people who did not trust Sessions, trust Huber. What did that mean? Was that a call out to the deep state? If Mueller was appointed as a special counsel based on the dossier, and the dossier was proven to be a fake, disinformation, and the dossier was proven to be the bulk of the information submitted to the FISA court in order to obtain the warrants, FISA signers mediated neglect to disclose the actual facts lied to, then how is Mueller still special counsel? Because President Trump allowed it. Plain and simple. This whole thing is fake. He doesn't mind because he knows it's all fake. He knows where it comes from. Why? Because we know where they came from. Mueller, impeach POTUS operation. If impeachment is the goal via retake, House, midterms, does it still not require a 2/3 vote in the Senate? Yeah, well, they're not going to get that. Why? Because we won the Senate, and Huber has everything, so it doesn't matter anyway. Sessions and Huber weekend meetings. To all those who doubted Sessions and Huber, you will all pay the price soon. And then we see these articles here from the Daily Beast. Jeff Sessions quietly appointed a prosecutor to probe Trump's foes. That could be an unprecedented disaster. Yeah, I guess so. Clinton, Comey, Uranium One. Who is John W. Huber? That's from Judicial Watch, probably one of the only main groups here that's actually paying attention to this whole thing. The Washington Times, John Huber, FBI Justice Department probe shrouded in mystery. So that's the mystery with Huber. And the whole point was to make sure that Huber was a mystery. That way nothing would get leaked and all this stuff could come to light. And we're going to be hearing from Huber very, very soon. Let's move on. Q goes on to say, think multiple meanings. Goodbye. And I think Q here is saying that when they say goodbye in these posts, it means one of two things. Number one, fired and or removed from DOJ. Number two, removed from special counsel oversight. Number two has been completed. So Rod Rowe has been removed from special counsel oversight, as we know. Number one, coming. Well, we haven't seen it yet. He hasn't been fired or removed from, as far as we know. Is that because he's got more to do? Does he have some testimony to give? We'll have to see, but we've still yet to hear from Rod Rowe. Q says, learn our calm. So it looks like when we see goodbye, we can kind of imply that that's what we're talking about here. Huber, FISA's two-way street. Okay, so Huber working with IG Horowitz, they're going to need to use some FISAs also, aren't they? Legal FISAs. You can use a FISA as long as it's legal. The only problem that we had is that these FISAs spying on Trump, spying on Carter Page, spying on George Papadopoulos, and the like were not legal. And that's the whole issue here. But being a two-way street, we can also grab some comms. We can also do a little surveillance, right? And it looks like that's going to come back to bite the deep state in the behind. Let's move on to the next post where Q adds on. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Removal from special counsel oversight. So Q is driving the point home that that's what that meant. Did Rod Rowe feel safe post Air Force One 30-minute meeting with POTUS? Okay, so if you remember, this was shortly after the Justice Kavanaugh confirmation. We were supposed to hear from Rod Rowe, and that didn't happen. All that got canceled. But instead, President Trump made sure to let us know on the White House lawn that Rod Rowe was going to fly in Air Force One. They were going out to Florida. It was a police chiefs conference out there where, so I would assume he doesn't feel safe at all because now that Kavanaugh has been confirmed, Rod Rowe's power, basically, he's no longer of any use to the deep state, which means he's only one thing. He's a liability. So no, he shouldn't feel safe. And that's probably why they brought him with. Instead of putting you out on Front Street where you're going to testify for everybody, we're just going to take a little field trip to Florida and keep your butt safe. So Rod Rowe very likely could be in a safe house somewhere in Cuba right now. We don't really know. Did Rod Rowe communicate meeting back to handlers? Not really sure. Because you know inside of an Air Force One, there's a skiff. And that's what probably panicked the deep state so much. They knew that President Trump was going to get 30 minutes of uninterrupted talk time with Rod Rowe. What did they talk about? Did Rod Rowe communicate it back to his handlers? Very well could have been. Maybe he was told something. Who knows? There's probably a lot of drama going in, a lot of dynamics in there, right? When your enemy feels in control, well, I suppose they feel like they can do whatever they like. Panic regarding Whitaker, lots of panic. They immediately have gone after Whitaker, just as we expected, just like they were going to go after Kavanaugh because he's the next person standing in their way. Panic regarding Huber, well, there hasn't been as much, but there's going to be. And it's going to probably happen in the next few days because we're going to be seeing Huber on D5, right? Why has the FISA court kept quiet regarding discovery of fraud perpetrated on court? Well, because like I said, the FISA is a two-way street. There's other FISAs that are active. We can't go ahead and comment on those things. So the FISA court can't just come out until it's all finished. And Q says when an operation is active. Precisely. This is still being investigated, and we're going to find out a lot more, hopefully on the 5th. Now, this may end up getting kicked, the can kicked down the road, if you will. But we'll have to see how it plays out, but it's got to happen this month. So I don't imagine it's going to get pushed much further back. These people are stupid. Q. Let's move on. Post 2526, 15 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. We get this Twitter link right here. Q says, a world united is a beautiful thing. People are inherently good. We stand together. Q. Well, that's so true, and it's oftentimes that we need to be reminded there. We get this Twitter link here to a simple mind. Meanwhile, in Berlin, and would you look at that? Bunch of protesters right there, but not Antifa-style protesters. They're not walking down the street beating up white people in the name of tolerance. These guys are wearing their yellow reflector vests so that they can all cross the street safely. Yep. And we see 4 Q signs right there. QAnon has made it to Berlin. They've got everything they need. They got their safety jackets on. They got their Q signs. They're all organized. They don't look vicious. They look like normal citizens who want to take their country back, secure their borders, go back to legal immigration just like anybody else, and they want to protect their country. Just a bunch of patriots. Cheers to you over there in Berlin. Now look, you have almost everything you need. Q signs, check. Safety vests, check. Good attitude, check. But you're missing one important detail, Berlin. David Hasselhoff. No. Trust me on this one. This is what you need, okay? He will get this done for you. Wouldn't that be ironic if he wrote a song about building the wall back up again? How about that? Build that wall back up again. Only this time, build it around Berlin. I don't know the words, but we'll hook that up with David Hasselhoff, though. But seriously, though, I would seriously consider this. Let's move on. 25:27, 26 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. And Anon says, what happened to 11/11/18 Unified American Day, you disgusting liar fraud? Answer, Freddie, you... Oh, hey, that's not nice to say. Q says, think waves. Worldwide, define unified. And then we have 17 in brackets. SAT, I'm assuming going to be satellite, knocked out, forced, new classified tech online by who? Controlled, moment activated. Again, 17 in brackets, controlled in brackets. Do you believe in coincidences? Do you believe your efforts here persuade people to stop the pursuit of truth? Well, you can't stop the pursuit of truth. No one can. Then we have CA_J in brackets. There is a place for everyone. Okay, so it sounds like Q is talking to someone that might be other than us. All right, well, we talking about this from RT. Weird seismic event which shook the world for 20 minutes baffles experts. On November 11th, the entire planet shook for roughly 20 minutes, and yet not a single human being felt it. Though we know it happened, we still have no idea what it was. The seismic event began at approximately 9:30, roughly 15 miles off Mayotte, a French island located near Madagascar off Africa's southeast coast. And there we are right there. The seismic waves from this event traveled as far as Chile, New Zealand, and Canada, and eventually reached the U.S. state of Hawaii, some 11,000 miles away. Earthquake enthusiasts at Matarikapax posted images of the anomalous activity to Twitter. And there you can see it right there. You got a little tremory tremor. And then over here you got a little tremory tremor, and these are a whole bunch of little long tremory tremors. And then you got a big old fat tremory tremor going on right there. This is a most odd and unusual seismic signal recorded at Kilima, Mbogo, Kenya. I don't think I've seen anything like it, Columbia University seismologist Goran Ekstrom told National Geographic before cautioning. It doesn't mean that in the end the cause of them is that exotic. Normal earthquakes are short-lived affairs that produce a sudden jolt that typically subsides in seconds, followed by aftershocks which can last far longer. Throughout these standard seismic shifts, the 3 types of waves are produced. An earthquake will usually first trigger fast-traveling signals known as primary or P waves, followed by relatively high-frequency secondary or S waves. Thirdly, long-period surface waves travel around the globe multiple times following a big enough earthquake. While this type of wave most closely resembles the Mayotte mystery signal, there was no earthquake recorded that could have triggered such a bizarre low frequency in the way observed. A sort of ping rather than a rumbling, explained Stephen Hicks, a seismologist at the University of Southampton. However, the Mayotte event triggered a surprisingly monotonous and low frequency signal, which further mystifies scientists. The wave was monochromatic and took roughly 17 seconds to repeat. I know, completely different to the noisy waves emitted by standard earthquakes. And here's a tweet from Anthony Lomax. And over here you see some sciencey seismic stuff. And over here you see a map. SBV, like the other stations, show long monochromatic signals with 17-second period monofrequency Rayleigh waves, but filtered above 1 Hz. SBV lower plot also shows seismic signals from repeating sources with some 50 seconds apart, maybe some large, shallow oscillating volcanic source. Wow, interesting. So it looks like we've got a rumble in the Earth's tummy. Is this the waves that we're talking about? Q goes on to say, think waves worldwide. Okay, so something was making waves down there. Was it some sort of weaponry? Was it some sort of weather control? We had it shaking and quaking over there in Alaska shortly after. Q says, define unified. And then we get 17 in brackets again. 17 what? 17 satellites. Satellite knocked out, forced new classified tech online by who? Okay, well, if you remember, August 30th, Q posted a whole bunch of posts regarding satellites getting knocked out. Remember, there was Corona, there was Big Bird, there was Snow White, and then GCHQ went down. It was a crazy, crazy time, and then Q said NSA no more. So does knocking those satellites out, maybe there were 17 of them, or maybe Q is letting us know that 17 is Q, and Q is responsible for this, but those satellites got knocked out. We've got new classified tech. Well, what kind of classified tech is it, and what does that mean by unified? Are we talking about unified field theory? That would mean we're talking about Nikola Tesla. And if we're talking about Nikola Tesla, are we talking about John Trump, which means we're talking about President Trump, which means are we talking about Baron Trump? Are all these people time travelers? All right, well, I don't know about all that, but this is my new favorite Q post. Q says satellite knocked out, forced new classified tech online by who? Meaning that once this got knocked out, new tech needed to be used. Controlled moment activated. So does that mean that Q was controlling when it got activated? Maybe it was going to be activated at a more inappropriate time, and this just happened to avoid a catastrophe? We don't really know. Do you believe in coincidences? I think not. Do you believe your efforts here persuade people to stop the pursuit of truth? And then we have CA_J. So I have a feeling that somebody here was trying to call out a Freddy. And in return, someone else was getting called out. Maybe a California resident with the initial J. Maybe there's another initial to let them know, hey, we know who you are, but we're not going to completely expose you. Because it looks like Q kind of changes the tone here. Do you believe your efforts here persuade people to stop the pursuit of truth? And everybody knows you can't stop the pursuit of truth. No one can. There is a place for everyone. Q. Let's move on. Post 2528, 47 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. Power belongs to the people. You are what matters. All you needed was a spark to unite together. Yeah, unified. They are scared. Think fake news attacks. Second only to POTUS himself. How about that? So POTUS is the most attacked person on the planet, and we're second. So it's like silver medal. Together we win. Trust yourself. Think for yourself. You are not alone. Open your heart and your mind. Where we go one, greater when we go all. I like that. Q. Let's move on to the next post. Post 2529, 14 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. We get this Twitter link right here. Do not mistake silence for size. This movement is larger than anyone can possibly imagine. God bless Patriot Q. And it takes you to the Twitter handle of MAGA Mom. Was just at my Wichita Costco and found this note on my windshield. I've had these stickers on my dirty van for months. So nice to know at least one other Patriot here who trusts the plan. How cool. I think MAGA Mom follows me here. So this is really, really cool. I have never seen another Q Patriot in real life. God bless you, Patriot. Where we go one, we go all. MAGA, it's nice to know you are out there. It is. It's nice to know that you're out there. It's nice to know that you're all out there. I have to tell you, it's my favorite part about this whole movement is the people. The people that have kind of gravitated towards this. And some people like to call us cultists and other people like to call us followers. But the fact of the matter is that we're totally sweet. We're totally bitching. And it's awesome and we're nice. And Antifa doesn't leave messages on your windshield. See them do that. Can't even spell MAGA. Let's move on. 2530. Hey, congrats to MAGA Mom for your shout out. It's awesome. What are you witnessing in France? What you are witnessing in France, has nothing to do with gas. Forced narrative. Viva la France. Yeah, well, look. It's like anything else, like Germany, it's like Spain, it's like Italy, it's like England, it's everywhere. It's all over Europe. Everybody's wising up. We're getting it. We don't want these open borders like this. It has nothing to do with being racist. It has everything to do with just wanting to protect our own cultures, our own nations, and so that we have something, we have a true diversity that we can share when people are actually able to travel around the world and experience different countries. But if we flooded all the borders, it would all be one globalist nation with one globalist race, one globalist religion, and nobody wants that. And we're all starting to wake up, and the people are speaking, and the people are hitting the streets, and they're wearing yellow reflective vests, and they're following QAnon, and they're posting channels, and they're creating their own news channels, they're creating their own videos, they're creating their own voice, their own outlets, they're creating their own social media platforms. What you are witnessing in France is what you're witnessing all over the world. And that's what's really unifying us, is that people that we don't even really know from all the way across the pond have this sort of commonality. And we're starting to see this. We're not divided. We're not divided by race. We're not divided by religion. We're not divided by ideology. We're freaking human. And that's it. So vive la France. Post 25:31. 38 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. An Anon post this from post 1559. Speaking of Viva la France, how about Viva la Resistance? LP being Lisa Page back then. Viva versus Viveur. Well, one's Spanish and one is French. And both of them I pronounced terribly. Deal with it. And we had this JC, and at the time we thought that was John P. Carlin, former head of the NSD, National Security Department. Not really sure, but maybe we're talking about James Comey, because after all, he was supposed to testify. Next thing you know, France is hitting the streets. Q says, you are learning, Anon, JC and Viva la France. Riots in France today. Comey, testimony. Do you believe in coincidences? I think not. So it looks like this could have been a call to the folks out in France. But look, like I said, they're all fed up. This is looking pretty genuine. And of course, it's not getting a whole lot of news coverage. Only certain news stations are talking about it. But the world is getting restless. And we're getting ready to hear James Comey's testimony. And he's probably going to lose this appeal, even though it did get kicked down the road a little bit because of the Bush funeral process. I think James Comey is going to have to come out and drop some bombs. Now, is James Comey flipping? Is he going to drop some real big bombs? We don't really know. But he's been there all along. He's got it all. He knows everything that's been going on. He knows all about the human trafficking. He knows all about the emails. He knows all about the special access programs. He knows all about the FISA warrants. James Comey knows all. So is he going to stand up and be a man? Has he already? Is he planned to make a really good decision? This is a big moment for James Comey. And if you'll remember, Trey Gowdy at one point said that history will be kinder to James Comey than Democrats. So who knows what that really means. Let's move on to the next post for now. 25:32, 45 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. We get this tweet right here from the White House. Together we reaffirm the truth that light will always break through the darkness. Ooh, who does that sound like talking there? We send our very best wishes for a blessed and happy Hanukkah. President Donald J. Trump. Geez, you freaking anti-Semite and your happy Hanukkah. And then we get this right here, and this is the actual tweet. Light through darkness. Do you believe in coincidences? I think not. Let's move on to 25:33, 8 minutes after the hour of 6. We get this Twitter link here from Breaking News Live. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. History books. And that takes you to this here. Breaking. Paris. A group of French police officers removed their helmets to show solidarity with the French people against President Emmanuel Macron as anti-Macron protests continue throughout France. Yeah, yesterday I said Macron's becoming about as popular as the McDLT. About as popular as Beta. Is about as popular as Crystal Pepsi. All right, well, there you go. The video's a little sketchy there, but the cops showing some respect and people showing their respect to the boys in blue. Not a lot of hate, not a lot of violence going on, just a little love being shown, and that's exactly what they need right now. They've had some rough protests, and the pictures have been absolutely astounding. The videos and all the pictures going, all the fires, it's really incredible. So congratulations to our friends over there in France. I know that you are in the middle of it right now, but hang tough. It's happening. Where we go one, we go all. Let's move on. 2534. Q says, ask yourself a very simple question. Why is there a total and complete MSM blackout regarding France, Belgium, Germany, EU riots, etc.? Well, because they're the ones that are trying to keep the divide going. Because if they showed this kind of unity, if they showed this kind of discontent, it would completely put a whole narrative in there. Let's push the socialism agenda, right? When you're awake, you can see clearly. Fake news equals enemy of the people. Q. Yeah, I never thought it would be that bad. I always knew they were lying to us. I think even when I was a little kid, I knew they were lying to us. But to really realize that they are an enemy of the people at this point is really, really true. So hang tough, all our friends over there in Europe. We're coming. Where we go one, we go all. Let's move on to 2535. We get this Twitter status right here. United we stand, Patriot. Together we win. Where we go one, we go all. And it takes you to Andre van Delft. Saturday in The Hague. And check him out. He's got his safety vest. And he's got his Q shirt. Why is this relevant? Enjoy the show. Q Anon. Oh, very cool. And look at that. I don't see any hate. I don't see any rocks being thrown. Nope. And everyone's going to be safe when they cross the street. Let's give him a follow. There you go. Awesome. Nice job on the Q shout out, Andre. Stay safe over there, my friend. Q says, United we stand, Patriot. Together we win. Where we go one, we go all. Let's move on to the last post here, 2536. We get another status. Q says, be proud. The world is about to change. This takes you to Jamie Rod 10. Extremely patriotic. A man proudly singing God Bless the USA at Chick-fil-A. This is the America I love. And I'm telling you what, I'm going to leave you out on this video because this is really, really lovely. And it deserves a minute of your attention. So let me leave you out on that. And I will tell you this. That's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who already do that. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time you will be unclicked, unsubscribed, and unnotified. That's the way this thing works. So before asking me about it, just check back. And if you see that you've been unnotified, just click yourself again. That's just how it goes. All right, all my links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, my email, my Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. Please join me there if you have not already. And if you'd like to support this channel so that I can keep making videos like this for you, my Patreon link is down below. It'd be much appreciated if you check that out too. All those links are down below. All right, kids, that's all I got for you today. I will leave you out on this video, and as always, stay patriotic.
Me and I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today. For there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, from New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, for at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me, and I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today, for there ain't no doubt